Hi, this is Maria Langer. That's me sitting there with the ponytail on the right-hand side, and I'm with my buddy Woody, who is a retired airline pilot and also a helicopter pilot. We are in Mesa, Arizona at Falcon Field Airport, and we're about to go for a flight up the Salt River Canyon as far as Roosevelt Lake, then turn around and come back. Those of you who've watched a lot of my videos know that every once in a while I have camera problems or audio problems or whatever, and in this case I have an audio problem. None of the cockpit audio was recorded. I don't know why. It's a very big surprise to me. So what I figured I'd do is I would narrate the flight and tell you about what we're going and seeing and doing, and hopefully that'll be entertaining enough. You'll also hear the cockpit audio of the sound of the helicopter from the inside of the helicopter. I have turned that down though, so it's not annoying. So at this point we've gotten clearance from the tower, and just as we're ready to take off, this guy drives in front of us with towing a plane. So we had to wait for him to go by. Airplane guys do not like when helicopters fly over them, so we try not to do that. We're going to be taking off on what's called a Gecko Departure. That's a helicopter departure route that has us picking up from this pad where we are, and we're going to look both ways, go straight ahead, and we're going to be climbing at quite a good rate and making a circle while I climb. The reason I'm going down this aisleway is in case I have an engine failure, there's a place to land there. So we're going to, he's telling me to turn there. We're going to be making a sweeping turn, climbing the whole time, and we need to be 500 feet over the runway to cross it. So I'm still turning to the right, and this is all Mesa out in front of us, and eventually I will be showing you the runway again. I can't remember the name of that street. I should know it too. I did a lot of my early training for commercial work at this airport. We used to do practice in what they call the Yankee Pattern, which is on the other side of the runway. So now I'm turning here. You're going to, in a minute, see where we took off from. It's going to be right behind the panel. In a second, you can see the circles. And then we're leveling out here, and we're going to cross the runway. And you can see someone else is just taking off there. Now this is called the Gecko Departure, and it's designed for the helicopters in the area to leave the airport without impacting traffic. So we're basically below the traffic pattern of the airplanes, but yet high enough over the runway to not have a problem if anyone needs to go around. So now in front of us there is the McDowell Mountains. I don't know what, oh, he's adjusting his volume. And we're going to be going out to the Salt River and then making a right-hand turn and following that up. This video was shot in December of 2020. I rented this helicopter. Woody owns the flight school that rented me the helicopter, so I got kind of a good deal. And since I didn't feel like flying by myself, I invited Woody to come along. You're going to be seeing a little bit of the canal system in the Phoenix area. There's one of the canals there. And then this kind of sandy looking thing with stuff in it, that's the Salt River. The Salt River generally does not flow through Phoenix. Further down there's a lake, Tempe Town Lake. The water does kind of trickle down there. I guess when it floods, you know, when there's a lot of rain, they get water in there as well. So we're following the river up right now. Again, no water, Arizona. It's pretty common for the rivers to be dry in Arizona. A few days later, I took a flight with another pilot. We went up to Sedona, and we flew up the Verde River, and there's always water in that river. So you'll see that in another video. It'll probably be a series of videos, actually, because it was a really long flight. So there's some water here, and then you see canals. You can easily see the canal on the right, but there's also a canal on the left. And in a few moments we're going to reach a dam, a diversion dam, where the water is separated out into, I think, 4 different canals. These are 2 of them. And there's a name for this dam, and I cannot remember it, and I forgot to look it up. So if you you want to know what it is, or if someone wants to tell us what it is, put it in the comments. What was kind of neat about this flight is we saw a lot of wild horses after this dam, and unfortunately the nose cam also didn't work on this flight, so I don't have any really good footage of that. I have no idea what I'm pointing at. Probably the different canals it's feeding. So you can see the canals going off to the side there. And there's a bunch of them. I didn't fly right off of the top of the dam. It was kind of off to the side. So now this is the Salt River. And from this point on, it's a series of 4 different lakes. And I remember the lake names by the acronym that I came up with, or the mnemonic, whatever, of SCAR. Saguaro, Canyon, Apache, and Roosevelt. So the first lake that we're going to come up to is going to be Saguaro. But in this area here, there were a lot of wild horses, and again, the nose cam probably would have picked them up pretty good. If you look really closely, you've got a big enough screen, you might be able to see them. If I see any, I'll point them out. You probably see me point them out with my finger. Oh, that's probably, Woody's probably seeing some. I remember there were a bunch of them just standing in the water, which was kind of weird. Oh yeah, there's down there. You could see them. Anyway, I was kind of bummed out when I found out that the nose cam didn't work properly. So there's a lot of wild horses in the area. What happened a bunch of years ago, first of all, a lot of people in Arizona have horses, and a bunch of years ago when the economy got really bad, people couldn't afford to feed their horses and nobody wanted to buy them, so a lot of people let their horses go. But there were also already a lot of wild horses out there. So what happens is that the population, when it's unchecked, just keeps growing, and you get herds and herds of wild horses. So they're along the Salt River, they're along the Verde River, which right here, we're at the confluence here, so the Verde goes up to the left. You can't really tell too much, but it does go off to the left there. And also the Gila River has a lot of wild horses. Back when I did my flight training, we used to go out and look for the wild horses for just something different to do, taking a break from actual training. So what you're seeing here is the closest that this part of Arizona gets to autumn. Their trees are turning color here. You got a lot of yellow, maybe some red here and there, probably not very much. Most of the vegetation in these wet areas is cottonwood trees, but I don't think that's what's down here. Cottonwood trees are usually pretty large. So we're just following the river up to the first dam. Not much to say about this, although we're talking plenty. I'm kind of bummed out because Woody's pretty funny, and I'm sure that the conversation was pretty good. It's funny to watch from behind and see, you know, me talking and waving my hands around and stuff and not remember what the heck I was talking about. This was shot more than 3 months ago. The Salt River, this particular part of the Salt River, is pretty popular in the summertime for tubing. People will work out with a company, get in the river on a tube further upriver, and then they'll just drift down further down and basically become completely sunburned because there's no shade, and usually there's a lot of drinking involved. I've never actually done it, but I know people who have, and that's the thing to do. The mountains in front of us are the Superstitions. It's the Superstition Wilderness out there. We're going east, probably cruising at about 100 knots. A lot of people like me to say how fast I'm going. I usually cruise at about 100 knots. And we're probably about 500 feet off the ground here. When I lived in Arizona, I used to fly in this area once in a while, but never really a lot. I should point out there are a lot of little parks along the way, places where you can come and have a picnic. Almost all the picnic areas in Arizona have covered areas for the tables because there's just so much sun. The colors were really pretty. I'm thinking this was afternoon, but the sunlight was kind of muted, so there's no real good color on the rocks. But the sun is definitely behind us. I'm thinking that mountain out ahead of us now, off to the left a little bit, is Four Peaks. What I tried to do for each of the lakes is I tried to fly over the dam. I didn't do it on the way up for all of the dams. On the way back, I flew over the one that I missed. Coming up on the first one now. So ahead of us there is Saguaro Lake. So this is the lake that's closest to Phoenix, and this has the most activity on it. There's a marina there and lots of camping and things like that. All of these lakes, of course, are man-made. There's dams holding them in. I was once told that every lake in Arizona was man-made except for one. I don't know how true that is. But all the ones down here are. And because Arizona's got so many canyons, a lot of the lakes are made up by filling in canyons. And that's what you're seeing here. Makes for nice boating. However, you don't want to be dropping an anchor anywhere because it'll probably get stuck in the rocks below. I don't remember it being a very windy day, but it's definitely been pushing us around a little bit. You can see the helicopter bouncing around a little. This particular helicopter has an instrument panel for instrument training, and you can see that it has different instruments than mine. If you look at any of the other videos where it's a cockpit view like this, you'll see the difference. This helicopter was leased by the flight school that Woody and his partners own, and they recently returned it. It's Woody looking at us. Woody loves to fly. He's been flying since I think he was in the Air Force, which is where he learned to fly. And then he became an airline pilot and started learning to fly helicopters. So he flies a lot of different things. He works at a skydiving place. It took me a second to remember that word. Works at a skydiving place called, it's something Arizona, Skydive Arizona maybe, and it's in Eloy. It's like the biggest one in the whole state, and he will work with them once in a while and fly one of the jump airplanes. So I'm just following the lake up. One of these lakes splits off. Well, you get a really good view of Weaver's Needle out in the distance there. And no, I'm not going to edit this audio. You'll get all of my ums and ohs and stutters and pauses. Sorry about that. But anyway, Weaver's Needle, you can see it off now. Just move it out of the picture to the right. That's one of the landmarks out here. It's really rugged area. And this is the top of the lake now, this particular lake. I'm just following it around. can see traces of roads. You see them off to the in front of us there. I'm pointing at it. I think that's the road that goes to the dam. And I think that's the dam up ahead of us, to a little bit to the left there. So this is the second dam. There's a helipad down below we're looking at. Helipads belong to the power companies who monitor the dams for power usage and all that. Power generation, I should say. So this lake here, let's see, this would be Canyon Lake. I actually camped out on Canyon Lake once. Brought my kayak with me. Up ahead, you'll see that white thing. Off to the side of that, that's a marina with covered slips, and off to the left from there is the campground. It's not cheap. It's really expensive, and there's really not many services there. But you are right on the lake. And again, Weaver's Needle, you can see it off on the right there. And I think this is where I screwed up, because I think I was supposed to go a different way up here somewhere. And I wound up getting off the river for a little while. I think I was supposed to turn left up ahead, but we caught it on the way back. Woody, get your head out of the way. There you go. I'm telling him how I camped down there once. So what happens now is that the lake dead ends here, and this is probably when I realized I should have gone the other way. But instead of doubling back or bouncing over the hillside there, we came off the lake for a little while and followed the Apache Trail. That's what you see off to the right-hand side there. I remember at this point saying, did they just pave this? Because I didn't remember this area being paved, but I was wrong. It's not newly paved. It was paved for a while, though it did look like it was resurfaced. There's a campground here, and then there's a place up ahead called Tortilla Flats, and that's like a bar and a hangout place. And then at a certain point, that road, the Apache Trail, turns to gravel, and it gets kind of hairy. Especially if you're pulling a boat. So I'm pretty much following this now for a while. I hope the narration isn't boring you. Again, you can always turn the volume off, then you don't have to hear me. I'm just trying to let you know where we are and what we're doing. I'm really bummed out that the sound didn't work. The audio from the intercom, I really have no idea why it didn't work. I must have neglected to plug something in, which is like me. So this long winding road, the Apache Trail, again, it's paved for a while, then it turns to gravel, it continues. It goes all the way out to Roosevelt Lake. And there's actually another way to get to Roosevelt Lake where it's paved the entire distance, and I think most people go that way. The unpaved part of the Apache Trail is, again, it's kind of hairy. It kind of clings to the side of a cliff in a few places, and of course it's gravelly, and if there's been some rain there could be washouts. It is maintained though. You can see all the deep canyons cut through here. I'm pretty sure that this is part of the Tonto National Forest. I know the Tonto National Forest is near here. And also I was under the impression that there was a big fire out here, and I was looking for it, and I really didn't see any traces of it on this part. I think on the way back we saw a little bit. What's neat about this area out here is that you can come off this paved road onto any of these little gravel roads with your camper and just park and camp out. So it's all, you know, government land that's free to camp on. Of course, you can't stay there forever. There's usually a 2-week limit. And of course, there's no services. There's nothing out there. But it's real quiet. It's real peaceful. And the further you can get away from pavement, the quieter it is. The kind of wildlife you'd see out there would definitely be coyotes. There might be sheep out there. There's probably burros. There's probably, down by the water in certain areas, probably wild horses. You can see how rugged it is, though. This is not the kind of place you want an engine failure. At this point, it's turned into a gravel road. You can see it off to the right there, winding down the hillside. And then it goes along in a wash for a little while. I think I've driven the entire distance to Roosevelt Lake maybe 3 times. When I lived in Arizona and I flew my business out in Arizona, I would take people on this particular tour, except I try to stay over the lake more. It's really, really nice, either last couple of hours of the day or the first couple of hours of the day. We're doing it late in the day, so the sun is behind us now. On the way back, the footage has a lot of sun glare, so I'm not sure if I'm going to use it for another video or not. It seems like it's a whole different place because the light is so different, and we do go a slightly different route. But it was a real popular tour that I used to do. And I would start from, usually from Scottsdale, sometimes from Deer Valley. Those are both in the Phoenix area. Because the total length of the distance is more than 25 miles from the starting point, this would be a Part 135 charter if I did it. That's a regulation with the FAA. Tours can be either under Part 91 or Part 135, and it's got to do with the length. Now you can see the lake up ahead again. So this, at this point, would be Apache Lake. That blue is really an unreal color. I don't adjust the color in any of my videos because I don't know how, and I know I would screw it up. So I'm seeing that color is what the camera picked up. It looks really unreal. And you can see the road underneath of us. It looks really gnarly. There's a little road off to the side there too. I'm wondering if this microphone is picking up my wind chimes outside. I hope not. So I'm not sure why I stayed on the road here, but I do eventually get to Roosevelt Lake and the dam before that. There's also a really neat bridge there. Roosevelt Lake is a really large lake. Well, not large when compared to Lake Mead or Lake Powell, but it's, of all these lakes, it's the largest one. And it's fed by the Salt River and also by Tonto Creek, which comes in from the north. Well, I sure wish I knew what we were talking about, don't you? I want to take this opportunity to give a big shout out to the channel members and Patreon patrons who help support this channel financially. While it's true that a lot of the videos I shoot for this channel are during flights that I might be compensated for example, all of my cherry drawing flights like this one are not revenue flights and I'm not paid for them. Flying helicopters is expensive. This is not my helicopter. It cost me $600 an hour to rent this helicopter for the hour-long flight. I would not be able to do that without the financial support of channel members and patrons who help put money in the bank that I could spend on flights like this. Member and patron support also helps to pay for the cameras, mounts, computers, storage media, editing software, and other equipment I need to make edited video. And I'll be honest, it also motivates me to sit in front of a computer for hours to edit the video I share on my channel. Now, if you don't want to become a channel member or Patreon patron, that's fine. Not everyone wants to or can afford to contribute money for amateur content, which is exactly what this is. But you can support me in other ways. Comment on the video, give my videos a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share my videos with your friends and on social media. This channel earns some revenue from advertising, which I try to minimize. Have you seen any annoying mid-roll ads here? I've turned them off. The more eyes that watch these videos, the more pennies trickle in to help support it. So once again, a big shout out and thanks to channel members and Patreon patrons. I really appreciate you sticking with this channel, especially when it seems to go dry every winter. Thanks so much. There were some people on the water. It was a weekday when we did this. But there were people out on boats in the water. There were people camping. Not a lot of people, but some. So we're back on the lake again. This would be Apache Lake again. Long, skinny lake. Just about see Roosevelt Lake up in the distance there. And I'm still over the Apache Trail. That's the road down below us. I can just about make out the bridge now. If you live in the Phoenix area, have you been out along the Apache Trail all the way to Roosevelt Lake? Let us know in the comments. I'd like to know. Have you ever flown it in a small plane or a helicopter or even an airliner? Look down from an airliner. It's kind of interesting. Let us know. And here again is the dam and the bridge. And then the canyon opens wide. And it kind of levels out. There's mountains beyond, but everything here is a lot flatter. And Salt River goes off to the right. The Salt River arm, I should say, of Roosevelt Lake. And then Tonto Creek comes down from the left. When I make my turn, you'll see it. There's a whole bunch of marinas here. Again, there's a paved road that comes out here, but you go a different way. You go through Payson. It's pretty far. This is probably to drive from Phoenix. Well, if you take the Apache Trail, it's got to be about 2 hours. If you come through Payson, boy, I got to think it's at least an hour and a half. And we did this in 30 minutes from Mesa, so I'm making my turn now. And we'll see the bridge from the other side, get a little bit of that glare. And that's it. I hope you found this interesting. I hope that you watch more videos on this channel. I'm going to be releasing a bunch more from Arizona in the coming weeks. And please subscribe. Just click the button, click the bell. Thanks for watching. Bye now.